Hi, my name is Zoe. I'm a cheerleader. We recently performed at a football competition to support our school team. We were even on TV. When I came back home, the first thing I saw were my terrified parents. My mom's older sister had called. She was strict and unbearable and had worked as a teacher her whole life. My mom had always been afraid of her. We lived in different cities, but now my aunt was going to come and stay with us for a while. I was terrified. I still remembered our rare meetings from when I was a kid. It had been the stuff of real nightmares. My parents and I decided that I would pretend to be an obedient girl in front of her to avoid conflicts. I dressed simply and cleaned the house, but my aunt still found something to be displeased with. Why are there stains on the dishes? And on the mirror? Zoe, why would you choose such a terrible nail polish? I was grinding my teeth with anger and barely held back from saying something rude to her. The next day, I had a sore throat, got a fever, and didn't go to school. Of course, my aunt immediately started to tell me what I should do to get better. Her fruit drinks and bitter teas just made me sick. Luckily, she was only at home in the mornings and evenings and disappeared somewhere else during the day. One day, I got a call from Julia, my best friend and the captain of the cheerleading team. She told me our school had a new principal who was absolutely awful. She set up stupid rules and constantly yelled at everyone. What a bummer. Like I didn't get enough of that from my aunt. One day, my boyfriend Frank came over. We were hanging out in my room when my aunt suddenly came home. First, I heard her voice downstairs and then footsteps coming toward my room. Damn it. If she saw me with a guy, I would be done for. Frank had to quickly get out through the window and climb down a nearby tree. After a couple of days, I got better and went back to school. Before the first lesson, the new principal came into our classroom, and I couldn't believe my eyes. I almost fell off my chair in surprise. The new principal turned out to be my aunt. She announced that from that day on, everyone at school would have to wear a uniform. Then she gave us sets of clothes and all the girls grimaced. The uniform was terribly ugly. The boys agreed that it sucked. During a break, everyone started discussing the new rules. It turned out that the principal hadn't just introduced a new uniform. Just imagine, she had disbanded the cheerleading club. All the girls were furious, especially Julia. She suggested we wear miniskirts to school as a protest. All the cheerleaders supported her, but I had to keep silent. I didn't know what to do. On the one hand, I was pretending to be a good girl in front of my aunt so as not to create trouble for my parents. But on the other hand, I didn't want to argue with my friends. So far, no one had guessed that the new principal was my relative, but if they found out about it, I would be in a world of trouble. The next day, I put on a uniform. Of course, my friends immediately pounced on me. They were very angry because I hadn't stood by them. We were talking in the hallway when the principal suddenly came up to us. Why aren't you wearing your uniforms? The girls immediately said they refused to wear them. So the principal yelled at them and told them to clean the classrooms every day after school as punishment. The new principal made everyone in school hate her in just a week. As soon as someone broke the rules, she immediately appeared nearby. It was like she had a nose for rule breakers. The cheerleaders, led by Julia, began to come up with a plan to get rid of her. They were angry with me because of the uniform, but still hung out with me and Frank. Everyone decided that since the principal was so prim, we had to drive her crazy by breaking the rules so that she would be unable to stand it and leave. One evening, a couple of my classmates snuck into school. They drew graffiti on the walls next to the principal's office and hung a poster with her Photoshop portrait on its door. When the principal saw it in the morning, she was livid. She found the artists and made them scrub everything off. How had she found out who they were so quickly? Soon, Julia got a new idea. She secretly filmed the principal on camera, made a funny edit of the video, added trending music, and posted it on TikTok. The video quickly went viral, and the principal became a meme. Our computer genius added the video to the school website and made it impossible to remove. You should have seen how furious my aunt was, and how much we laughed at her. However, she quickly found out who was at fault again. She threatened the genius with serious problems, and he had to remove the video from the website. We wondered again, how did she manage to find the rule breakers so quickly? Despite everything, Julia decided we couldn't give up on cheerleading. Every day when the principal left school after classes, we trained in the gym. I often missed practice so that my aunt wouldn't find out anything. Because of that, my relationship with my friends became even worse. That worried me, but I didn't know how to fix it. Frank often worked out in the gym with the cheerleaders and helped Nerdy Charlie as well. One day, the cheerleaders came up with a new idea. Julia recorded the sound of the school bell on her phone and hid a Bluetooth speaker in the hallway. She turned it on right in the middle of classes to disrupt them. The school was a mess. The principal was freaking out and couldn't figure out what was going on. However, by the end of the day, she found the speaker and punished the girls again. I was in for an unpleasant surprise at home too. My aunt talked to my parents and told them that my classmates and I were completely out of control. You have to focus on raising Zoe. She has to be grounded. I saw that my dad was very annoyed with my aunt. He held back for the sake of my mom, who didn't want to argue with her sister. As a result, my parents scolded me, but only for show. Of course, I wasn't really grounded. It seemed like my dad would have been happy to join us in our quest to drive my aunt insane. One day, the principal announced that a committee would come to our school in a few days. Don't even think about pulling anything. You have to wear your uniforms and show proper manners to make a good impression. Naturally, we were going to do the opposite. To lure the principal into a false sense of security, the cheerleaders wore their uniforms for the next few days. The classrooms and hallways were clean since everyone was getting punished all the time. The principal was satisfied. She thought we had given up. How naive of her. In the evening before the arrival of the committee, I stole the key to the principal's office from my aunt. The girls and I snuck into the school and made a mess there. We smashed the flower pots, spread dirt over the floor, and scattered garbage everywhere. Then we got into the principal's office and put all the papers in the wrong places. The next day, everyone came to school dressed like they were at a rock concert. The girls wore bright makeup, and the boys had put on torn jeans and t-shirts with skulls. When the committee walked into the school, we turned on heavy metal on the speakers. The committee was shocked. The principal opened her mouth, choked with indignation, and did not even know what to say. That was exactly the reaction we were hoping for. The members of the committee told our principal that they wanted to speak with her in private and left our office looking very displeased. Hooray! We did it! Overjoyed, the cheerleaders performed their routine right in the hallway. I was glad too. Maybe if my aunt was fired, she would finally move out? After school, Frank invited me for a walk. We hung out in the cafe, then came to the park. We were sitting on a bench and kissing. All of a sudden, we heard my aunt's annoyed voice right next to us. Zoe, what are you doing? Damn it. I couldn't believe I was so unlucky. My aunt was very angry after the day she'd had. She threw a fit and yelled at Frank. Then she grabbed my arm and started pulling me along. You have no right to do this to me. You're not my mom and I'm already an adult. You're still going to school, which means you're a child. Your mom needs me to knock some sense into her as well, since she's letting you date whoever you want. At home, she brought mom to tears. Luckily, dad was at work, or the day would have ended much worse. The next day, there was a rumor at school that the principal was going to be fired. Nobody saw her in the hallways. She did not come to lessons, and everyone rejoiced. After school, I came to the cheerleaders' practice. Charlie didn't show up that day, and Frank was working out by himself. Everything was going well. The girls had almost forgiven me, and we were talking like we used to. However, in the middle of practice, the principal suddenly walked into the gym. She wasn't surprised when she saw us at all. She had definitely known we would be there. Someone had ratted us out, but her arrival didn't scare Julia. Well, what are you going to do to us? You will be fired soon. The principal smirked. Who told you such nonsense? The members of the committee were horrified by what was going on at the school. They decided that only a principal like me could handle it. We were stunned by such news. So we had been wrong? We hadn't succeeded and she would be staying? The principal suddenly looked right at me and did the thing I was most afraid of. Zoe, your behavior is simply unacceptable. Yesterday you were kissing a guy and today you're jumping in a miniskirt with pom-poms. My niece shouldn't act like this. There was silence in the gym. Everyone was looking at me, and I felt terrible. I wanted to sink through the floor. After the principal left, the girls crowded around me and accused me of lying to them. Traitor! You must have been the one to rat us out to your aunt. That's how she always found the rule breakers. It wasn't like that. Yes, she's my aunt, but I want her to leave as much as you do. No one believed me except Frank. My friends boycotted me, and my boyfriend was the only one who supported me. He had guessed everything in the park when the principal had led me away. I couldn't help but burst into tears right on the porch of the school. Frank hugged and comforted me. I wanted to make up with my friends and get rid of my aunt. I couldn't think of anything, but one day my mom accidentally gave me an idea. We were having lunch when a spider suddenly ran across the floor next to us. Mom laughed and said that her sister would have fainted if she had seen it. She has always been terribly afraid of insects. If she sees even a tiny bug, she immediately screams. When I got to school, I asked Julia if we could talk. At first, she didn't want to listen to me, but then curiosity got the best of her. I told her about the phobia of the principal and shared my plan. After school, we discussed everything with the other girls and decided to act the next day. I bought a bag of insects at a pet store and brought them to school. When the principal left her office, we sneaked there and put the insects into her bag. Then, we hid around the corner in the hallway and waited. When the principal came back, we came closer and watched her through the half-open door. She was looking for something in her bag when she suddenly screamed loudly. She dropped her bag to the floor and the insects spread all over the office. The principal grew hysterical. She stopped shouting, only to suddenly clutch her heart and sink to the floor. Everyone was confused, but Frank quickly realized what had happened. He ran up to my aunt, sat down next to her, and gave her first aid. I came to my senses and called an ambulance. My aunt was taken to a hospital. When she came to, I went into her room. I felt a little ashamed because we had brought her to such a state. I want to apologize for everyone. We went too far with the last prank. My aunt pursed her lips and looked at me, annoyed. I didn't expect anything else from you. You will never amount to anything. After such words, I no longer felt sorry for her. I hoped she would admit she had been wrong too, but nothing of that sort happened. Soon, a doctor walked in. He said that if it hadn't been for Frank, things would have ended much worse. But even that didn't change her opinion of my boyfriend. Your Frank is just like everyone else. There's only one good boy among you. Charlie will definitely become someone. I tensed up. Charlie? What does he have to do with anything? He's the only one who didn't take part in your nonsense. He even helped me and told me every time someone broke rules. So that's who had ratted us out. Wow, Charlie! Even after Frank had helped him work out. The doctor said that my aunt shouldn't be stressed out. She needed absolute rest for at least a month. After being discharged from the hospital, she was about to leave. I cautiously asked if she was going to come back to our school. Certainly not! Your principal just went on vacation and asked me to fill in for her. We are old friends. One of your teachers will act as your principal until she comes back, and I've had enough! So my aunt hadn't just come to visit? She had wanted to help a friend? By the way, I hope that the cheerleading club will stay closed. I saw your performance on TV and immediately decided my school wouldn't be known for something so disgraceful. Had she seen that broadcast? So that's why she had immediately closed our club? Before leaving, my aunt demanded my parents make sure I behaved from then on. Mom almost burst out crying again, and I couldn't bear it any longer. Look at how many people you have turned against you. What if you are the problem and not everybody else? You are a mean tyrant. And there's nothing wrong with cheerleading. My aunt opened her mouth in surprise. She looked at me in shock for several long seconds and then turned to my parents. Did you hear what she said? I warned you, it's all your parenting. You've let her get away with far too much. My dad suddenly interrupted her. Enough. We've been patient for a long time. I completely agree with my daughter. I hope we won't see each other again soon. Have a nice day. My aunt was upset and turned to look at my mother, but Mom amazed everyone. Instead of keeping silent or agreeing as usual, she took our side. Even though we are relatives, you should stay out of my family's business. We have our own life here. My aunt looked indignant and said that we were ungrateful and wouldn't manage without her help. My dad quickly kicked her out. For the first time in recent weeks, we breathed a sigh of relief. At school, I told Frank about Charlie. He cornered him, and that traitor confessed to everything. He had wanted to curry favor with the new principal, so he had ratted us out. I made up with Julia and the other girls. The cheerleading club is open again, and I am still a member of it. My aunt doesn't call us anymore, and we are very happy about it. Do you know any people as unbearable as my aunt? Tell us in the comments down below.